right, we on.
We on. Back at it again.
Yes, sir.
This is O, the futuristic baby boomer.
Lively hair, progressive millennial.
Back at it again for another episode. Everybody, we back. So, the hot topic today is the debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
You watch it?
Of course. We went to a Busboys and Poets in Shirlington, Virginia.
Watch party.
Yeah, man, that thing was packed house. They even had drink specials.
Really?
For Kamala. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, we watched it. It was packed house. We had to stand up.
Oh, no, standing room
Yeah,
only.
all the TVs. No. People were sitting, but we got there a little late.
Okay.
Like a couple of minutes late, but people were already there dining in.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so we stood up and watched it, and it was cool, man. It was a good experience. There was one Trumper in the room.
One Trumper
with his partner, and we're watching it. About 25 minutes into the debate, all of a sudden, I hear this loud voice. Yeah, tell him, and he's clapping. He's like, yeah, and then I tapped Shannon on the shoulder. I was like, I think that dude got Tourette's or something. I was like, is he cool? Because at first I didn't know what it was. He had this like kind of awkward, I don't know. And plus he's like,
who sounds like a Trumper.
And then the more he continued his rant, we're like, oh no, he's just like a frustrated, angry Trumper who is ballsy enough in a room full of Democrats to like exclaim like that. Yeah. So his girlfriend or partner, whoever she was, tapped him on the shoulder. She was like warmly trying to caress his back, like, honey, like, come on. Yeah. And then later on, he wouldn't stop. She whispers in his ear and she walks out of the bar.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not getting my ass kicked up this motherfucker.
And then later on, he requested his check. He signed it. He was still clapping, doing his thing, and he just left. It was a wild scene. I was like, whoa, that dude got some balls.
Man, well, look. One thing I've noticed about Trump and his followers, they don't mind being out there.
Yeah.
They'll be loud and wrong. They don't care. So here's the thing. What was your impression about the debate?
She crushed it.
She kicked.
She tore him a new asshole.
Right?
Yeah.
She kicked his ass, and so I was, I was a little apprehensive because I wanted her to do well. Mm-hmm. But I wanted her to walk the fine line. I didn't want her to come off being the angry black woman. I didn't want her to feed in the stereotypes. There's always a higher bar when you're of color and when you're female, right? I mean, we've had to deal with a higher bar our whole lives, being of color. And women have to deal with a higher bar being of color and female. And so, you've got to be able to, you can't just win. You got to crush them.
You got to win, and you got to win with class. And you got to be the bigger person.
And this is a perfect time for me to make the point. When the time comes to vote in this election, we've got to turn out the way everybody turned out for Barack Obama. It has to be overwhelming. It has to be a landslide, because if it's not, he's going to make a claim anyway, but it's got to be a land. Now, again, I'm praying and I'm speaking into existence what I hope to happen, which is for her to win, because him winning puts our entire republic at risk. And I just, I can't fathom that. I'm refusing to buy into that outcome.
Yeah. Oh, well, people showed out for Obama in a landslide because of who Obama was. And if Kamala is that person, then people will. But to say that people should just because, I don't understand. People got to feel connected. One of the things that a lot of people had questions about was like, what does Kamala stand for? Who are you as a person? What do you stand for? And she wanted to touch on that in the debate. They didn't really get deep into it, but she was talking about offering $20,000 to something, $25,000 and $10,000 to new to young mothers, to give them
$6,000 child care credit.
Yeah. So she touched on a few things, and I was like, okay, this is all right, cool, but still, they didn't really get deep in the weeds. But the people who are voting for her, I think they will want to know, especially the ones who are on the fence, want to know what does she stand for, so they can rally behind her. So the rhetoric, just like, oh, we got to show up for Kamala like we show up for Obama. People got to be moved to be able to show up like that in those numbers.
Okay, and that's fair. It's fair. And I want to dive into that a little bit. Before I do that, I do want to still celebrate the fact she kicked his ass.
She kicked his ass. She did.
She was prepared. She demonstrated every talking point that he's been putting out there, which is she's not smart. Right? She's not capable. She's not competent. She dashed all that bullshit and said, yo, who up here is not smart? Who up here is not competent? Mm-hmm. Who up here is not capable?
Right.
I think it's the former president, right?
Yeah.
So I was elated at the way she threaded that needle.
That was so much fun to watch.
And bust that motherfucker's ass. And they up here trying to announce that 3 against 1 and all that. Yeah, whatever.
It was 3 against 1 though.
How? You think the moderators were on the side of Kamala?
Yeah, of course.
Bullshit. Why?
Well, it was obvious to me. It was even when and I know when I was watching the debate, and I remember the first clue I got, and I was like, uh-oh, she better not lean into that too much and make it obvious that she's on Kamala's side. Was the way that they were approached Donald Trump and were quick to correct and fact check him or ask him to repeat the question when he didn't answer it. But they would let Kamala slip with questions that she didn't answer. When they asked Kamala, hey, have you met Putin before? She went around the question. She talked about something else and never addressed the question. No one asked her again, hey, Kamala, did you meet Putin? And it was another question that asked Kamala about some kind of policy that she skirted around. They never brought it back. Whereas Trump, there was grilling his ass. So little things like that, you can sense, that the debate was, these moderators was not unbiased. You can tell clearly that they were Democrats and they were in favor of Kamala. That was what I witnessed.
No, that was your perception.
Yeah, that was my perception.
Okay, that's fair. Your perception. My perception was he had 33 lies. That motherfucker lied every 30 seconds. He was lying. True. Right? Mm-hmm. At the end, she had one thing that was not true. Mm-hmm. 33 to 1. Mm-hmm. And they only checked that motherfucker on 3.
Yeah.
That is 1%. Right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 10%. Nah. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
They checked his ass 3 times.
Yeah.
When people, Haitians eating people's pets, no, motherfucker, that's not happening. People having babies, and the babies are born, and then they kill them.
Yeah.
Nah, that ain't true.
That ain't true.
All right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's true. It happened.
So they checked him on the shit that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
they had to check him on that shit.
But also because he's divisive, right? He's not, when we, in earlier on the pod, me along with other people talked about the fact that Kamala, even you said it, that she wasn't quote unquote likable. Well, in the face of Trump is actually not likable. So I can see how the moderators grew frustrated of Trump because he's just this gritty, hard, arrogant guy to talk to. So I can also understand why, one can, it's easy, it's hard to be unbiased and, be level with someone who has that kind of character.
See,
so I understand.
Here's my problem. My problem is the only way that some people will feel that it was equal is if they didn't say shit to him and didn't say shit to her. Mm-hmm. But they had already said they were going to fact check.
Yeah.
Not everything. It couldn't.
Yeah.
But 33 times he lied and they fact checked him on 3?
Yeah, he said some bullshit.
Come on now. You can't. They get him a favor by only checking them 3 times out of 33. Right? When they could have done it more to make it more obvious that he's a constant, serial, compulsive liar. Yeah. Now, having said that, the way she did, there's so many stereotypes she destroyed. She was masterful.
She was.
In the way that she baited him and got him to go off the rails because that's what he is wont to do, right? Mm-hmm. And her campaign had been saying for weeks, we're going to get under his skin, right? They didn't even hide it. They said that's what they were going to do. And then she did that, and he erupted and kirked out. How in the world can you have somebody that easily manipulated? Now, you can tell everybody in advance, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. And even when you give him the playbook, he still falls for it. Mm-hmm. How in the hell can he be the president?
Yeah, he was once. We all hope that he doesn't become the president again. That's for sure.
So here's the other problem I've had in the days that have followed the debate. Because I celebrated her win. She was masterful. She was prepared. She was well rehearsed.
It's a prosecutor debating a criminal. It's like, what
Absolutely.
the hell?
but what else that told me? If she's president, she's going to be prepared. If she's president, she's going to be competent, capable, and not take no shit. And if she's president, she's going to get in whoever ass she got to get in for the people of the United States, right?
You think there's a correlation there? You
Absolutely.
think because she's able to debate at that level, that means that she's going to be a great president?
No, I didn't say she'd be a great president.
She'd be prepared to be a president?
She's going to be prepared.
Okay.
Right? People, you do what you're trained to do. Mm-hmm. Right? When I was in martial arts, my Shihan always said, the way you fight is the way you train. We always train full contact because if you're going to fight, you're going to be full contact. If your personal work ethic is to be detail-oriented, to be prepared, to put the work in, do what you have to do, that's who you are.
Let me ask you this.
That's how she showed up. That's who she's going to be.
What
he's going to be is not prepared.
We already know.
Exactly. What he's been.
How long have you been a fan of Kamala? How long did you think that she was?
No.
Were you a fan of Kamala when she had the lowest approval rating as a vice president?
No, she was low approval in my book. She was not likable.
Okay. So at what point did you all of a sudden, feel the inspiration in wanting to back Kamala as the president and thinking she's going to be fit for the job? Apart from the fact that Donald Trump is just not fit for the job, so you want Kamala to win? Or do you just really think that she is the one going against anyone else? She would have been a good candidate.
Good question, and I'm glad you asked it. So I didn't have a lot of, in fact, when Joe Biden stepped down, my first reaction was we should have an open convention to see who else might be a good candidate to be his replacement. Mm-hmm. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when he endorsed Kamala and she became obviously the select person to go against Trump, mm-hmm. I then began to say, okay, let me look at this possibility with a new set of eyes. Mm. Right? If she's going to be the nominee, mm-hmm. let me evaluate her relative to my assessment as to whether she can go against Trump and what she brings to the table.
Okay.
And once I began to do that, then I was like, well, she's diverse. She's young. She's of color. Look at her family. Look at her husband. Look at her stepkids. Look at her history. Middle class, worked at McDonald's. Did
she work at McDonald's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ronald McDonald came out and said she was cool.
There were rumors about her not working at the McDonald's by Howard University. I don't know how
I don't know if she worked at the one by Howard University, but I know she worked there.
Okay.
And her husband, Doug Emhoff, he worked there too. Both of them motherfuckers got a certificate in making Big Macs. Shit, they make Big Macs every Sunday at the crib and shit is what I hear. But all that being the case,
I know she could crack the egg with one hand. I saw a video. She's like, "Come on now."
Oh, I didn't see that. But I got to add that to the column and shit. One hand egg cracker. Look, all the skills go into the mix. But what I will tell you is she checks all the boxes. But let me tell you what has brought me on board more. I was on board already mm-hmm. because I know this to be true. Mm-hmm. If Donald Trump gets reelected, our democracy as we know it is going to end. He's going to implement Project 2025. When he says, I didn't have anything to do with it and I don't know anything about it, Add that to the 5,846 lies that he's told in the last 3 minutes. He's bullshitting you. And he's going to end our republic. It's a republic if you can keep it. And we won't keep it after that. I know that. So now that I want democracy to continue, now I got to look and say, okay, Kamala, what are you bringing to the table? Well, her vision. The fact that she is making a tent big enough to bring in disaffected Republicans, unhappy folks that are unhappy. Look, she's like, I'm going to be a president for the people. Okay? My vision is, let me give you $25,000 to start a new business. And I want 25 million applications by the end of my first term. And I want to give you $50,000 of a tax credit to expand an existing business. I'm going to give you $6,000 for a child tax credit when you have a kid to help you be able to handle the cost. And I understand the shit that's out there. Groceries are too expensive. And the things we buy are too expensive. And they got to come down. And we got more work to do. She is talking to the people. Mm-hmm. And one thing she said in that debate, you can listen to Donald Trump all day, and the one person or one thing he won't talk about is you.
Yeah.
He don't talk about you. And she talks about the people. So she's brought me more on board than where I was. But here's my big problem. Since the debate, I've talked to a couple cats that I know. A couple dudes that I know. And they've given me hesitation. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna be. I don't know if she got what it takes. And I was like, what? And I asked one of them. I said, well, you gonna vote for Trump? Well, I don't know. I mean, I may not vote, or I will vote for Trump. I mean, you may not like Trump, but he's still going to, he can handle the job. And what dawned on me in the two conversations that I had with brothers that I know is that they're sexist. Right? Mm-hmm. And again, because I can't fathom how you would think she's not capable, competent, and ready to be the president, at least more than he is.
Yeah.
If you're not sexist.
Yeah. And
I had an immediate disappointment in who I thought those cats were.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You always say though, why can't we be critical though of her?
I do believe that a lot of men are sexist. They may not even know that they're being biased towards maybe a male candidate. At the same time, there are people who are not that and just want to criticize, whether given a constructive criticism, even if they're going to vote for Kamala, but just to question and critique. And I think people have a problem with that. We all get tossed under that umbrella. And I don't know if that's fair. That's always been my biggest thing. It's just like, yeah, okay, I think people should be able to discern the difference and not be so reactionary. And if someone is criticizing Kamala, be able to maybe, find out where they're coming from. Give them a chance to be able to say their point. But I think we just automatically go to this woman she's a woman, she's diverse, she's all these different things. She has all these strikes against her. And especially if you're a Democrat, it's like, don't you say one thing about it because we're automatically going to look at it with a sexist lens. And that's also not really, that's not fair. Everybody should be, if you're going to be the next president, the leader of the free world, we got to be able to get past the fact that someone wants to critique her without being sexist.
Okay, that's fair. And so, of the two cats that I'm referring to that I talked
which
to,
I don't know. You don't know. They could have been.
You don't
might
know.
As well have been sexist.
They could have, but I don't think she has what it takes, and I just don't know if she can do it. They didn't offer. I said, well, what do you mean? They didn't offer me any substance.
Yeah.
They didn't give me any specific things that they articulated as to what she could not do.
Right.
Other than that, which led me to believe, oh, you're sexist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because at least if I'm looking at Caleb Williams, number one draft pick for the Chicago Bears, in the game he had last week in his first game, and he didn't play that well, we can have a conversation. He's a beast. He's going to be amazing. Yeah, but he didn't have a good first. We can chop it up over what his performance was and what he did well and what he didn't do well and why we think he will or will not be successful. We can talk about that.
Right.
But you got to give me something to support your position.
And that's
you
why you're
can't
able
just
to tell.
say, right.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I don't think she
Yeah.
got what it takes.
Where you coming from, bro?
Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
What is that?
But here's a question. I just thought about this. Even if we decide in America, Kamala is ready, she's fit to be a president, and we are evolved as a nation, we're not sexist, we're able to elect a woman president for the first time. What makes a president fit to be the president also has to do with the rest of the world, right? So the interesting take is, if the rest of the world leaders are not ready for a woman's president, does that mean she's fit for it? This is just a hypothetical question. What is that? How does that look like, right? Is she able to carry on the job if she's meeting with these world leaders who are dictators in some cases and misogynists in other cases, who only wants to eat? They're even toxic with other men. And then here, this woman who is fit for the job, fit the description, but she just can't get through to them because all they see is a woman.
Yeah. I you know what? Here's what I think about that. I think that the dictators may look at her and say, oh, she's female. We're going to be able to do what we want to do because she's female. She ain't a man, right? They're going to underestimate her. And that becomes a tremendous advantage. I've worked that advantage my entire life. Every setting that I've gone into after law school, people have looked at me and underestimated me because I was of color. They don't understand that my personal standard of excellence is that I'm going to put the work in, I'm going to be prepared, I'm going to be ready, I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to come whoop your ass. But because they look at me and say, oh, he black, I don't even got to even work on it. I ain't got to do nothing. It's made it easy to wax their ass. See? So she's going to be able to use that as an advantage. Because that's not the first time people have looked at her and say she's not capable or ready because she's female or black. She dealt with that her whole career.
Right. And that's the thing, because what made Obama an outstanding president, the perfect statesman, was because of one of those things. He had so many strikes working against him that all he knew was to put his best foot forward, and he had to do things 10 times as better than his opponent, his counterpart, right? And so imagine Kamala not being all the things that Obama is, but also a woman, right? She probably, I can't wait to see what the world leader is who doesn't have the kind of pride that men have, that kind of ego, misogynistic ways. Well, I won't say misogynistic ways, but that kind of I guess toxic masculinity ways about them, where she's able to see things from a different lens, you know what I mean? And be like, even kill, or having to, being so used to taking not taking seriously and having to prove herself. I don't know. I'm curious to see what how the nation is going to be run with a president, that has that kind of perspective.
I'm curious and excited to see how she's going to be as a president. But let me tell you the reason that Barack Obama was successful. It was character. His character. See, that's the thing. When you're president of the United States, and that goes back to Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton. The job of president of the United States, being presidential, is to set the bar at a place that's above the average asshole individual. We have to be better than that. We need to be better than that. When Trump was in office, the entire society has deteriorated because he was an asshole. So now assholes are everywhere because he gave them license to be assholes. And so what I think she will be, I think based upon her background and what I've seen so far, is she at least and the fact that she's been going on 4 years sitting at the knee of Joe Biden as president and probably being more involved than most vice presidents because Joe was asleep half the time. She's ready to step into that role.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this: I again notice I'm not really talking about Trump much, or like what did you not like about Trump? We could throw the baby out with the bathwater with that, right? But let's focus on the person that we're going to vote for, that we're in favor of, and give constructive criticism. What about Kamala? When you watched the debate, what did you see that you thought wasn't her strong moments?
So her where she was weak?
Where she was weak.
Where she articulated the fact that the economy is where it is, and that when you look at where people were 4 years ago and look at where they are now, they're spending more money for the things that you have to buy. Day-to-day living is harder, and inflation is higher. Now, she did not go into detail about how she was going to address that, and that's a weakness. She's going to have to refine those talking points to get better at that. And the problem is, she's a part of the Biden administration. And for as many accomplishments as they have as an administration, things are too expensive. Things are higher than they've been. I went to Five Guys to get a burger, fries, and something to drink the other week. It was $22 for me. That wasn't what it used to be 4 years ago. I could go get a burger, fries, and some shit for like $10. Like, that's double the price.
Is that it?
I mean, that's a symptom of where things are.
Okay.
But so she needs to be better at articulating, how she's going to do better.
Okay. What about fracking? When she talked about fracking, were you on board with that?
Yeah, look, hold on. So here's what I wish she had said. I wish she had said, and I wish all leaders could say, yeah, in 2019 or 2016 or whatever that was, I was anti-fracking. Okay? But now, where I am is, I've got new information, I've evolved, and my perspective now is we need a global approach to climate change, and we can't necessarily rule out the fracking piece because we can still achieve our climate goals and still have that in the mix. Look, I don't want anybody that's wedded to the fact that they said something 8 years ago and they got to live with that shit. Shit changes all the time.
Well, she said something similar to it. She talked about we need to diversify our energy resources.
Yeah, look, I'm not hating on anybody that evolves with the information they have.
But that's not what she said, though.
Okay.
She said she wasn't against fracking, and she said that in Pennsylvania. And you don't have a problem with it. You're saying what you wish you would have said, but you're not saying, "Oh yeah, I have a problem." Let me ask you this other question:
she was
what
against
about
fracking before, and now she
Donald
is.
Trump called on that, saying that no, you was against fracking. She
And
didn't
now-
say
now-
she was
now.
against fracking. She didn't say that. She said, "I've never been against fracking. I support it." And then she goes on to say, "I believe that we need to have a diverse energy resources to be able to combat." I don't know if she said climate change or whatever. That's another point. Let me ask you this: what about when she said her comments on Palestine? How do you feel about that?
She says they need a two-state solution. We've got to bring a resolution to it, and they stand, and the U.S. stands in support of.
Do you think that was a strong
Israel.
point that she made on that? You think that was a strong stance?
I think that it was probably the most realistic thing she could have said. They need a two-state solution. We need to bring an end to the conflict, and the U.S. stands in support of Israel.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I'm not trying to be the bad guy. I'm not trying to be, purposefully polarizing or anything. But the reason I pod and the reason why we do this, like for me, I feel like we have a responsibility to be able to be unbiased at points. And, I always just run into this. I just feel like there's a reality distortion feel around people who are Democrats or Republicans, and you rarely find anyone who's in the middle or critique. And the challenge I always run into is like criticizing someone who I stand behind. And even in those moments, like, forget Trump. We already like almost like he's all bad. But as we're talking about Kamala, when I heard, I mean, when I was watching in the room when she talked about fracking, when she made that statement, you can see the air suck out of the room. No one really said, "Oh," or like, "Come on," or anything. They just went with the flow. But you can see the air suck out the room. And then when she made that statement about Palestine, it was just like so politically correct. I didn't feel in my heart. I was just like, this isn't.
What did you want her to say?
The people. There's a genocide happening in Palestine. Yes, the way this whole thing started was Hamas attacking a festival. People were having a good time. There's a lot of Jewish people at the festival. They went in there. They're a terrorist group. They confiscated. They kidnapped a lot of people, killed a lot of people, started the war. The difference is people haven't been able to separate the terrorist group from the people of Palestine. And Israel have the right to defend themselves and retaliate. There's no doubt that they've went way too far, and they're creating a genocide. And they're killing people by the numbers, and it's happening. Kids are dying. Innocent people are dying. All these people are dying, and the war has to stop. And so as a president, to be able to speak to that and really stress the fact that that's what's happening versus, oh, Israel have the right to protect themselves. You know, the Hamas started this war, and it has to end. If I'm someone who is from Palestine, I'm going, damn.
So what would you say if you were her?
Israel's committing a genocide. And people have to be able to discern the difference between not being anti-Semitic, right? Not hating Jewish people, but also criticizing the government and being able to tell them that the government is doing wrong. So, you know, there's this like where if you speak on what's happening to Israel, and I mean, if you speak what's happening in Palestine, people automatically are saying you're anti-Semitic, you hate Jewish people, when we know that's not the truth, right? You can love Jewish people and still hold the government accountable for what they're doing. And I don't think Kamala did a good job of really speaking to that, because what the Biden administration has been supporting Israel.
They are. The U.S. is an ally to Israel.
You know, and I gotta be honest with you, as a person who was born and raised in a war-torn country, been in 2 wars. Look, man, like, you know, I get it. I follow some people who are Jewish on my timeline, and you know, their talking points is, you know, free the people who were kidnapped, bring them home. That's been the same talking piece for a long time. And I know if you're a person who is Jewish, you're born in Israel, you support your country, it's really hard to be able to go to decipher and discern the difference and know that your government is creating this heinous act. And I think so many people are afraid to speak up. I mean, as I'm speaking up right now, you know, I mean, I am a community leader now at Climate DC. I have these, you know, I'm a content creator. I'm a small business owner. I get it. Maybe I'm a little naive. Maybe I'm too, that I don't know if my voice is big enough to really feel anything. But at this stage, I'm just happy to know that I can discern the difference, to be able to speak to these things without having to, I don't know, be afraid or something, you know, for whatever it's worth.
No, I feel you on that. And actually, I mean, I don't necessarily want to take a left turn from our conversation, but I am interested in having you talk a little bit. You started a newsletter recently.
I did.
And, you know, and I don't want to make an abrupt left turn, but you started a newsletter. I had a chance to check it out. It's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. And I would encourage everybody to follow it. I'm going to ask you to tell them how they can do that. But in addition to that, you know, what is it that prompted you to do it? And then the other part of it is, what is solar punk?
Yeah. So I started a newsletter. It's called Solar Punk DC. All lowercase. And it's broken down in 5 pillars, and there one is community governance, local community governance. The second one is green spaces. The third is a just energy transition, primarily clean or renewable energy. Fourth is transportation, mainly micromobility, so multimodal micromobility. And the last is circular economy, reusable materials, and things of that nature, less waste. And so those are the 5 pillars. So I started a newsletter to kind of highlight, because what for me, what I realized working with, working in the circular economy space and the micromobility space, volunteering at green spaces and things like that, I realized that the DMV is becoming more solar punk. But the challenge is that, these big companies are talking about it. They're kind of just, they're not really about it. A lot of them are greenwashing. There's no way to really monitor or keep track, and the people just don't have the time to be able to do that. But on a local level, a lot of business owners are working towards that, but they're working in isolation. They don't really know about each other. So my goal is to start this newsletter, is to bring these people together, these communities together, these 5 pillars together, so we could be intertwined and accelerate the transition into a solar punk future.
That's interesting. So, is the DMV, how far along the evolution cycle is the DMV compared to other places across the United States?
I don't know how far along per se. To be honest, I've been focused specifically in the DMV. When you look up, like the top 10 cities that are really accelerating that transition, I know DC falls around like 4th or 5th in that clean energy transition, micromobility, transportation, like transit system, walkable cities, things like that. And so more and more people are moving back into the cities, and it's becoming congested. And I think DC is where, policies are happening, where people are, really trying to do something to change it. But I don't really know compared to other states and places. I don't know where, how far along we are.
How big is the community? The community that's climate conscious. How big is that here in the DMV that you found? Because I mean, you're a board member of Climate DC?
Yeah. Head of community at the Climate DC. It feels big because you're in it, right? And all of a sudden you see all these people who are part of it. So you're motivated, you feel inspired, and it feels like the community is big. We're one group that is Climate DC, but you have another group that is called Green Drinks that's out in DC. There's a group that started in Baltimore too, that is, climate focused. And so once you're networking with all these people, it feels like there's a lot of people doing something. But honestly, in the grand scheme, I don't think it's that big. The idea of solar punk really started in 2008. So it's a new concept. And cyberpunk is like...
time Bitcoin started.
Yeah. Right. And, cyberpunk is cool because it's this, people are optimistic by design. I'm not optimistic. People are pessimistic by design, right? So I think it's like a lot of Hollywood movies are made in the image of solar punk. There's a lot of like architectural building that is inspired by this cyberpunk theory. Like it's lots of neon lights, guys with mohawk, people who are rebellious and like misfits in society. So it's kind of cool to the be behind this solar punk, cyberpunk movement. But there's nothing really represented by solar punk, right? And no one, like, nothing is cool about someone in a garden planting in a green space. You know what I mean? Like,
my dad would like that.
Yeah, right. And my grandmother would. But there's no symbol. Nothing really represents that it thing that makes people want to latch onto it as a cool, fun thing to support and get behind. And I think a lot of these movement symbolizes with like architectural buildings and stuff like that. And there isn't really anything that speaks to there isn't a design yet that speaks to that solar punk world. But that's that's what I'm trying to help drive. I think it's cool as hell. I think the evolution of micromobility is cool. I think people getting out of cars and walking and having the freedom to be able to hop on their e-bikes and maneuver to the city. I think that's cool. I think it's fun. I love the technology that's also behind this movement. And I don't know, like, sometimes people don't know until you show them. And
so how do I join? How do I subscribe to your newsletter? How do I get involved?
So the newsletter's on Substack. You get involved by a good way to get involved is just to follow my Instagram, lively.harris, LAVALA, .HARRIS on Instagram. I'm always posting all these things, so you can follow and subscribe to Climate DC community. You can subscribe to the Substack because I will post every time we publish. Or you can just look up Solarpunk DC. It'll pop up on Google. And you can subscribe there. Or if you're a Substack member, just type in Solarpunk DC.
Okay. All right. And then if I, subscribe to the newsletter, what can I expect to get on a regular basis, and how often can I expect to be updated?
You're gonna get expected. You could be you expect to be updated bi-weekly, and we curate it based on the 5 pillars. So if you tap into the newsletters, you're gonna hear exciting news around the 5 pillars, the green spaces, just energy transition. You're going to be educated on the circular economy, transportation, things like that. Also events that's happening in the DMV. Yeah. So, and it's going to build over time, but right now, obviously I have 2 articles. I mean, two newsletters that's already published. We're trying to get a feel of, what people are attracted to, what people want to, the type of things that people want to, the resources that people want to see and hear about. But right now, the 5 pillars is what we're kind of focusing on.
So let me ask you this. So, the largest climate related legislation in the history of the world was passed under the Biden administration recently, right?
Right.
And so what does that mean for what was contained in that legislation? What does that mean as a benefit for you and the climate community at large?
That IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act that the Biden administration passed.
Why you laugh?
Because they really did a good job. They
did a good job. Oh shit! You giving us some credit?
Of course, but that's what I do, right? I am unbiased. I see things for what they are.
Okay.
I criticize things and I give them props.
Okay.
Today I did the same thing. I supported Kamala. I said she crushed it, and I also criticized her.
Yeah.
But I think people don't do that.
Okay.
And so it's funny how you laugh. You're like, oh my gosh, you're giving them props. Of course I am.
Yeah,
because I'm about what's good. I'm not about, the government per se or anything. I'm not about the Democratic Party. I'm about, are you doing good? And can I hold you accountable? Whether you're a Democrat or Republican. Are the Republican doing something that I can get behind? Let's talk about that as well. So that's the thing that trips me. I think it was just like a lot of people like one track minded about this thing. And so I often run into the same thing where I'll criticize something and then I'll support other parts of it and then go, oh my God, yeah, I am. There's nuance to everything.
Okay.
Anyway, so but the Biden administration did a great job with the IRA. I think for me, that's the reason, you have people, I don't want to be a one issue voter, but that was a big thing that made me really support the Democratic Party because look, these guys are all wolf in sheep clothing. If you ask me, it's like a wolf standing at the podium saying, if you vote for me, I will become vegetarian to all these sheep. And it's like, of course he's not, right? You might spare your life for a little bit. Or you might eat others before he gets to you. Depending on the ones that you vote for, but whatever, everybody can pretend like be blinded to that. I don't get it. But the IRA, back to my point, the IRA was a great bill that was passed. I think somewhat of $300 billion that was passed in that bill, and about 250 of them was allocated towards a clean energy transition, bringing manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. And a lot of companies were birthed out of that, getting subsidies from the grant, starting micromobility companies like e-bikes and things like that. So, you can see like a lot of parents, young adults you can see it's evident that they're riding e-bikes now. They're walking to places. You're starting to see a lot of green spaces in Arlington area and DC area. So that's kind of like the first start, because government moves slow. You pass the policy, and then it takes a long time before you start to see it implement, and then you see the result of it in your community. But yeah, this seeing like businesses opening up, like King Bike Shop, Strictly E-Bike are carrying electric bikes now, and I think that's the first wave, and so yeah, so you asked the question, how did that bill kind of spill into the space that I'm in? I guess that's your question.
What the passing of that bill? What are the significant things that now is done as a result of that?
Yeah, and honestly, is giving more people the hope, the people who are already in the climate space, to want to do more. And so, like our event, this is now a great turnout. More and more people are coming in and networking and wanting to get job in a green space. There's a lot more collaboration and sponsorship with Climate DC that's happening. People are inspired and motivated. And this is just the beginning of it. So we'll see. And to that point, I don't want Donald Trump to win, because if he wins, that's going to reverse a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Right? And so,
I think it's a hoax. He thinks climate change is a hoax. He thinks it's a hoax.
So yeah, I believe, maybe, I don't know. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I think people are sensible enough to be able to criticize a person and still vote for them. I think people can still understand that I can criticize Kamala, but still think that Donald Trump is not a great candidate, and I don't want him to win because he's gonna reverse a lot of things. And I don't know. But those things could be, both of those things could be true. Yeah,
So we're coming up on the end of this episode, and I don't want to leave this particular episode without talking a little bit about the Tyreek Hill situation.
Oh shit! All right, yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, Tyreek last week, first game of the season, on his way to the stadium, on the grounds of the stadium, gets pulled over by the police, put on the ground, handcuffed. What's that about?
Yeah, did you see the video?
No.
Oh man, I wish you did, because I mean that'll give it perspective to be able to talk about it. So yeah, Tyreek Hill, beast of a player. Played for the Miami Dolphins. He won the what is the number one what is the award that he recently won amongst his peers? The most favorite.
I don't know. He's a beast. He won a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he went to the Miami Dolphins, and since that time, he's been him and Waddle, a beast.
Yeah, there's an award that the team collectively vote for their favorite player, or what they think is the best player in the league. And this year, he won that award. He was the number one pick for it. Anyway, so Tyreek, overall amazing player. And then when I saw the video, he was driving his McLaren all black, going to the game, first week, probably running late, right? And
probably
speeding, because he got pulled over for a moving violation. So a couple of Miami PD pulled him over in motorcycles, like 4 or 5 motorcycles, pulls him over. Knock on the window, he rolls his window down, asks for his license and registration. He hesitated to give it. And when he gave it, he rolled his window back up. The cop knocked back on the window and said, "Hey, I need you to keep your window down." He's like, "Look, man, I'm late. Just give my ticket so I can roll out." And he rolls his window back up. Cop knocks on his window. He didn't roll, knocks on his window again. He rolls it down. He's like, "Yo, don't knock on my window. Don't be banging on my window like that." Cop is like, "I need you to roll down your window, keep your window down so I can run the paper." He's like, "Don't you?" And he kept going, "Don't you knock on my window like that," just like very aggressive. So, cop is like, "You know what? That's it. Get out the car." Opens the door. He's like, "You can take me to jail." Pulls him out of the car, and things escalates. And so now he had two of his teammates that saw what was happening, was close to him, so they pull over and
they were on their way to the ring. They saw what happened. They pulled over.
Yeah, one of his boys pulled over in the front of the Rolls Royce. The other guy had a Tesla Model Y. They're both, one of us behind the cops and one in the front. And they were telling them, hey, they're trying to fend them off. Like, you mind your business, leave the scene. They're like, we're not leaving anywhere. So they both one of them got arrested with Tyreek Hill and the other one got a ticket and his registration was expired. So
that wasn't smart. That wasn't smart.
But now, transition to the NFL, Stephen A. Smith talking about it on First Take and everybody else. Police was too aggressive, for sure. I agree. I think they escalated because the police job is to de-escalate the situation. And to be honest, Tyreek Hill didn't do a lot for him to get shoved out the car, pushed to the ground, like forcefully handcuffed, stand up, and then push him back to the ground. Like, they was doing a lot, right? So there's no doubt these police officers was arrogant, cocky.
Well, they were pissed off because he was flaunting their authority, right? He was being disrespectful to them as police officers to do what the hell I say.
Yeah, right. So he made a statement. He's like, just imagine, I've always wanted to be a police officer, but I think they did too much. In that moment, I listened to what my parents told me to abide by the law, put your hands up, and do what they say. And he's like, just imagine if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, what would have happened then?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, bro, I saw the video, bro. Like, I get it, but you were being an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, and this is always, and I get it, right? This is always the thing. Due to trauma, black folks are agitated. When they get pulled over by the police, they get a short fuse, they wear the hearts on their sleeve, and they talk to the authority in a way that is not just. And then things happens, and then they play the victim. Now, a white person can do that, and the same thing won't happen to them.
That's true.
So, the truth is, like, a black person can argue that these people are supposed to be civil servant. I should be able to talk to them in the way I want, and they should be able to de-escalate and let me on my way. Because they do that with a white person, why can't they do the same for me? Yeah, no. But that's not the case.
Yeah, so you had me until you said they're civil servants, and I should be able to talk to them any way I want. No, you can't.
I don't think you can, but I'm saying that's the argument for black folks because white people do the same.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And the other part of it is this. Because you see some white person be an asshole, I mean, you can be an asshole. And you can't ignore the history and the legacy of slavery and, racism and all that exists. You got to be conscious of that, man. You got to be conscious of that. And the other part of that, if the cop tells you to do something, don't give him an excuse to fuck with you. Because he got a gun and you don't. That's it. Now, some individuals, when they get fame, fortune, and all that, they think
above the law.
Right. They think they're like Donald Trump. Above the law.
Yeah.
But ain't nobody above the law. And if you're black, your damn sure ain't
not above the law.
Right. And we're going to remind you of how below the law You really are. Yeah.
No one is above the law, but people have favors, right? And people are unfortunately can determine who they're going to punish and who they're not.
Right. If
But
they got a
no
gun.
one is above the law.
Right.
And if you are a person of color, the last person that you want to test if you're above the law with is the cop. You know, like be arrogant to me as a normal person. Fine, you won't get anything. You know, there's no consequences for that. But come on.
But here's the reality. Tyreek says, imagine if I wasn't Tyreek Hill. But here's the reality. If you wasn't Tyreek Hill,
you won't be saying some shit like that.
You wouldn't be saying no shit like that.
But then, that's not the case. I don't want to go all the way back. I don't want to forget what year this was with Sandra Bland. No, that was a famous case. I mean.
Yeah, they went into her apartment, right?
No, she got pulled over.
Oh, she got pulled over. Oh, yeah. If I die, it's because they killed me because I didn't commit suicide, right?
Obviously, she doesn't deserve to die.
Yeah.
100%, right? Because I know, like, these sound bites happens, man, where it's like, if you criticize, forget it. I'm not even going to make the disclaimer. The point is, if you watch that video, Sandra Bland was going in on the cops from the moment she got pulled over. And again, it's that agitation. And I understand, and it's fueled by the trauma. I put my hands up. I've seen an example of me getting shot or my people getting shot. I abide by the law. I put my hands behind my back. I do whatever I do. George Floyd, stepped on the neck. Whatever I do, I've seen examples where it doesn't matter. I can still get shot. Recently, a cop went into the home of a woman, minding her business. Everybody knows she has a little problem, right? Shoot her because she ducks. And I don't know, but the point is, it's because of that and the frustration from all of that, that when a person of color gets pulled over, they're just frustrated. And they just don't know how to be able to manage their temperament. Yeah. And so I don't know.
That can get you killed.
But that can get you killed.
Right.
And you know me, I've always been a proponent. We had an episode, 3 Perspectives on Blacks. Whenever we would talk about the police officers, I'm saying on home. I always say, hey, you gotta be able to live to tell a story. You know? And these people are humans too. They understand what's happening. And people can feel the energy and tension. And they're the ones with the gun. You know? And so that's all I'm gonna say. So Tyreek Hill, listen, man. Fame is the ultimate rush. You think you're on top of the world, but you're not above the law. And if you wasn't Tyreek Hill, it could have been worse for you.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. Like, the NFL put out a statement talking about they're gonna get it to the bottom of it. It's the league's the NFL superstar, blah blah blah. But dude, like, I saw the video. Like, come on, bro. Like. You're not above the law. Abide by the rules. You were speeding. You got pulled over. Listen to the cops.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, we're bringing this joint to a close, man. Good to be back on the mic. Good to chop it up. As always, just me and you.
Yes, sir.
It's always good. So till next time, everybody.
Peace.
Hey, and before we go, if you're not registered to vote, register to vote. I ain't telling you who to vote for. Register
yeah, you are.
to vote. No,
we told you who to vote for the whole pod. I'm kidding.
I'm telling you who I'm voting for.
Yeah.
You vote for who you want, but register and vote. All right?
Yeah.
Don't be up in there talking about, I don't like. Register and vote.
And vote.
All right.
Till next time.
Peace.